Today, we're setting up an ultra-low maintenance tank for these colorful fish. Why? Because my parents asked me to. After seeing my planted aquariums, they wanted one of their own to enjoy watching the fish. So I began searching for the best way to create an ultra-low maintenance aquarium. After watching hundreds of videos, I chose the dirted tank method as my first option. But I noticed a few drawbacks with this method for this tank. I'll go over those challenges and how I solved them while building the aquarium. This is the plenum. I decided to use this method, but with a few tweaks to make it even better. The idea is simple. Create an anoxic environment at the bottom of the tank and allow water to pass through it very slowly. This encourages anaerobic bacteria to grow, which helps with denitrification by breaking down nitrates.
What?
Yes, it might sound complicated, but as an average hobbyist, we only need to focus on two things. First, we need to ensure extremely slow water flow through the plenum. Usually aeration is enough to create this slow water movement, but since I wanted this aquarium to be quiet, I decided to use a mini water pump instead. Even though it's working as expected, I'm not fully confident in its build quality for long-term use. So, I decided to try the smallest aquarium filter I could find. But there was a problem. The flow rate was much higher than what I needed. I had to find a way to slow down the pump's flow rate. Then a crazy idea hit me. What if I used the air intake as a water outlet? Sounds wild, right? But I had to try it. And lucky me, the valve closing knob fit perfectly into the water outlet like it was meant to be. It got even better when the pump's intake fit perfectly into the under gravel filter's lift tube, like a perfect match. Oh, and one more thing. I added this plastic mesh to keep small gravel from falling to the bottom. Now comes the fun part. To build the perfect low oxygen zone at the bottom, we're adding a thick layer of gravel. This step is key for the tank's natural filtration. I added an extra layer of fine gravel on top to keep larger waste particles from settling into the substrate. I know this filtration method has its critics in the aquarium community. Some say creating an anoxic environment at the bottom of the tank is too complex and might not be effective. But after researching, I believe that, theoretically, it should work. Will it? Stick around to find out. Now let's tackle my parents' first requirement: a natural-looking tank. Of course, that means real plants. So I decided to go with some beautiful aquarium fern varieties. These ferns are incredibly easy to grow and maintain. Over time, they'll get bushy and add a beautiful, lush look to the tank. To be exact, I added trident fern, needle leaf fern, and windeloff fern, attaching them to these beautiful pieces of driftwood for a natural, scenic look. I also placed this rock here temporarily to weigh down the driftwood until it becomes fully waterlogged. The setup is really coming together now. The plants are in place, the tank is taking shape, and the vision is coming to life. But there's still more excitement ahead. Let's keep going. Now it's time to bring this setup to life. Let's add water. That first fill is always magical. No matter how many tanks you set up, watching the water flow in never gets old. This is fully dechlorinated and well-aerated water, perfect for creating a healthy environment right from the start. This is the main reason I didn't go with the dirted tank method. Even with 2 floodlights lighting up the tank, there are no major algae outbreaks. But why is that? Well, with the dirted method, the tank's starting nutrition levels are really high. To lower that, you'd need fast-growing plants or frequent water changes. But fast-growing plants mean more trimming and removal, which adds more maintenance. In this tank, there's no excess nutrition available, so I can use slow-growing, low-maintenance plants. And I'm planning to set up a simple, automatic system to add liquid fertilizers, so I can control the levels easily without much effort. The only algae I can spot are small patches of brown hair algae in a few spots. And did you notice the slow water movement in the tank? That's because I added a small hang-on back filter. Its main job isn't filtration, it's there to create surface agitation and keep the water well oxygenated. I didn't even use a sponge in it, keeping things even simpler and cutting down maintenance even more. Since my parents have no experience with fish keeping, This setup needs to be absolutely foolproof. I decided to do a 50% water change, just to refresh the tank before adding the fish and to clear out those small algae patches. It's not a huge issue, but I noticed that this part of the driftwood might start disrupting our thick substrate over time. I can't attach this driftwood to the glass like the other one because it's just not long enough. So, we need a creative way to secure this piece. Luckily, there's a perfect hole in the driftwood, and I attached a stainless steel rod to it. Then, using a simple clamp, I easily secured the driftwood to the tank. Problem solved. For the past 2 weeks, our mini pump has been running at full throttle. That's one of the key reasons the water stayed so clear. But for this filtration to work long-term, we need an extremely slow water flow through the plenum. So, I attached an airline hose to the pump's water outlet and ran it through a flow control valve. Now, I can fine-tune the flow to match exactly what this setup needs. The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. Today, we're adding a ton of fish, just like my parents wanted. Let's bring this tank to life.
No, that don't make sense.
Stop! What are you doing?
Yes, I know. The tank isn't fully cycled to handle this many fish yet. But don't worry, I've got a plan for that. On my way, I spotted this plant growing by the roadside. I've heard that some hobbyists use this exact plant to improve water quality, so why not give it a try? Before adding it to the aquarium, we need to clean the root system properly. After rinsing off all the dirt, I sprayed hydrogen peroxide on the roots to ensure they're safe for the tank. This helps eliminate any harmful bacteria or parasites that might be hiding on the plant. Initially, I planned to add a pothos plant. However, its rapid growth could require regular maintenance and ample space. Instead, I opted for this fern plant, which grows quickly but remains rooted in one spot, reducing the need for upkeep. Because the tank is near a window, this plant will get plenty of natural sunlight to thrive and grow beautifully. Our uninvited cleanup crew is already hard at work. I'm not bothered by these snails at all, especially now that the immersed grown plant leaves have started melting. The snails will be a huge help in keeping them in check. And the plants are already starting to grow new leaves. I haven't even started dosing the liquid fertilizers yet. The tank is doing extremely well. Just take a look for yourself. No unwanted algae blooms, no pests, and no ammonia spikes. Honestly, I doubt the tank would stay this stable with no supervision if I had used dirt. I'm not in a position to claim that the deep substrate with a plenum is working like a miracle, but I can confidently say that, so far, it hasn't given me any trouble. And with the help of our terrestrial fern plant, the tank has reached a well-balanced state, keeping everything stable and thriving. Honestly, there are no words to truly capture the beauty of these fish. Just look at them. Time for a feast. Let's feed these fish and find out if we've truly delivered on my parents' big request. So, what do you think? The way these fish eagerly swarm for food is always a mesmerizing sight. But this journey isn't over yet. There's still a long way to go before this tank reaches its full potential. I'll be back with an update when everything has grown in beautifully. Stay tuned.